We back. It's your boy Moreno Guapo here with my man Noble. You know, I've been on a little hiatus, doing a little vacationing, start of the year business.
Had me doing all this work by myself.
Yeah, I missed a couple interviews, just
Three.
a few. I'm saying three to be exact. But you know, I'm here now, yo.
But now you was OT with baby girl though.
Yeah, you know.
So I couldn't have been mad,
Yeah,
but I was a little mad.
Shout out baby girl. She just had a birthday that passed, you know.
So if y'all didn't know, his baby girl and my birthday, same exact day.
Exactly.
So you know, it might be one of the reasons why I rock with him, but I'm still trying to mull it over.
It's crazy. You see the hoodie. You know how to bust
the
my hoodie out.
617 hoodies. You know what I'm saying? It's going crazy
Shop
too
the
right
Museum
now.
TV. You know
We definitely out here. There's a lot of moving parts right now. There's a lot of moving parts. I'm really excited personally. You know what I'm saying? I'm grateful. We get to continue to tell these stories, bro. You know what I'm saying? Stay out the way. Continue to add value while they chasing moments. You know, the vibes.
Yeah, facts.
But
by the time wait. By the time they see this interview, it's gonna be a whole new wave coming. I ain't gonna give the people. He got some stuff coming. I got some stuff coming.
It's offending.
Y'all better be on the lookout. But today's enough about us, bro. Enough about us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Testing Lab, everybody involved. Shout out MASSTIME on 88.5. You know what I'm saying? We can't forget that.
Homies, that's a fact.
Yeah, Jeff 2 times, DJ Dex. We can't forget that. Every other Wednesday from 6 to 7. Only playing Massachusetts music.
That's it.
So, you know, but enough of that. Enough of that. What we got today is a great story. Even better artist, you know what I mean? I'm saying? She's the Boston Music Award winner for Latin Artist of the Year. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what type of time we on. I'm gonna let her introduce herself to the people because, you know, here we're always bigging up the ladies, you know what I mean? I'm a girl dad myself, so I love when the ladies introduce themselves.
Not just big women up here.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Come on. You got them on, right? I'm saying, all right, bet. All right, so let's hand it off and let you do your introduction. I'm saying, so tell the people who you are.
Please.
Yes. Hola, mi gente. It's your girl, Yelena, Latin Artist of the Year. I'm so grateful to, be here with you guys. Honestly, thank you for this opportunity. You
know, when you winning awards like that, it's undeniable to bring you up here. So, but before we get into your story, we gotta go into our On Dead Dog segment.
We Boston.
You know what I'm saying? Boston niggas gotta start right there.
We're gonna bring you in.
Yeah, so can you tell the people something about yourself that maybe no one knows and you gotta put it on Dead Dogs?
All right. So a lot of people don't know that I ride horses. And I don't really do it here in the U.S. because it is very expensive. If people know about owning horses, it's expensive to own one. It's expensive to even take care of one. And I started pretty much riding horses when I would go, to my dad's country, which is Cuba. I'm Cuban Dominican, for those who don't know.
That kryptonite. That kryptonite. Take care of yourself, fellas. Go ahead, girl.
Mess me up there. Get that kryptonite.
Right.
I ain't lying. Niggas know I ain't lying. Take care of yourselves, fellas, man.
It's all peace over here.
Right.
Sometimes. Depends on the day.
Right. It depends on the day. So the person, the day, the weather.
I think it's all of them.
Right.
It's all of them. But so a lot of people don't know I ride horses.
That's fine.
Okay, no, that's fine.
She's an equestrian.
Yes, that's what. Yes,
I put that shit on Dead Dog.
So, your parents, your dad's from Cuba,
yes,
right? When's the last time you've been to Cuba?
So I went before Trump became president.
Oh, okay.
Because of
nah, it makes sense. That made perfect sense to me.
I remember, everyone remembers that whole situation when Trump was trying, got elected president and all that craziness. And so his plan with Cuba, if you kind of know a little bit about what he was going to try to do. But I just, at that time I decided to go. I went in January. So literally, I think it was, before he got elected or something. And so it's back in 2017. So it's been a while. But I definitely would like to, go back because that country has my heart.
What?
My mom's probably going to be mad hearing this, but that country has my heart.
Shout out to Poppy for doing his job first and foremost. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Shout out to that.
God bless his soul.
Now, that's one of the places I've always wanted to go. It's Cuba.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It literally, a lot of people talk about how Cuba is so like, it's like stuck in the 50s, but I'm a very vintage, kind of old school type of person.
That's why
and
I
that's
wanted
what
to go. Right,
yeah,
right.
and that's what
I
made
see
me.
the cars. I see like
Yeah.
all the fashion. I'm like, just the way the
Yeah.
buildings look. It's just different. Like,
Exactly,
it's
and
just
that's what I
different.
love mostly about Cuba. And then the other reason too is that every time I go there, I have no connections, so people can't contact me, and I like that.
Nah, that's fire.
Not to be mean, but
Yeah, nah, I feel
sometimes you need
like,
to
you need
to disconnect.
yeah, for real, disconnect from not from America, but just from the internet, just from what I
Yeah.
mean, the normal day-to-day life that people get used to here. So
Exactly.
I respect
So,
that.
Yeah.
So, how did your parents meet?
Oh boy. So how did my parents meet?
Because he's from Cuba and she's from DR.
Yeah, my mom's Dominican, right? So my parents, they met in Boston actually. The both of them at the time, work wise, my dad was a case manager, so he's always worked with people who had like drug addictions, people who also were like HIV positive, stuff like that. And back in the 90s, like he also used to work with like high school kids too, talking to them about, like sexual health and all that kind of stuff. So you can only imagine growing up, my dad had those books of sexual health and the pictures of the STI. And so that was
used to be like, not on my watch.
Exactly. I'll be like, that's how chlamydia looks like. Good to know.
Good.
So
I'm taking notes right now. Like, wait till I
can't even hold you.
Wait till I get
I
home.
seen a group of pimples. I was like,
but I love my father. But yeah, so
group of pimples.
But yeah, so at the time he was doing that, and my mom was also in the social work type of field too. She mostly worked with like women who also dealt with that kind of like, like drug addiction, all that kind of stuff, and also like domestic violence. So they pretty much met at a work training, and I don't know who talked to who first. Yeah, I don't know who talked to who first. I'd assume it was my dad because he's very, he's Cuban. He's very
Outgoing,
suave.
yeah.
He's very. Right. He's very charming, and my mom tries to act like the innocent type. So and then years later they I came into this world.
Okay, that is dope. That's so when did you start singing?
So I started singing when I was 7 because of my father.
Okay.
So one day, my dad always liked to do this thing where so this was at the time I was living in Florida. So my dad, every time he came from work, before he would come home, he always went to Walmart, whether it was to buy groceries or whatever. And in Walmart, I think they still do this, but they used to sell those $5 DVD and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, in those boxes, little crates. Yeah.
That's a fact.
So my dad, all the time, whenever he would go, he always would buy me a movie from there. Depending, he always was like, I think she would like this.
I used to be like that when the DVDs was popping, no lie. So that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad did that all the time, and that's why we had such a huge amount of DVD, movies and stuff like that. But so yeah, one day he came home and he was like, Yelena, I bought this movie for you, and the movie turned out to be Selena.
That was just about to ask.
So
that's hard. Go ahead.
So again, I'm 7 years old. I know Selena died 2 years after, I was born in 97, so she died 2 years before I was born. And of course, I didn't really know who she was. So as I'm watching the movie, I'm sitting there and I'm like, wow, she looks so amazing. And then when it gets to the end of the movie, I was so confused, and I'm like, wait a second, this woman died? I remember I cried to my father. I'm like, what? I was like, please tell me it's not true.
Damn,
and so then
hard.
yeah, I literally cried.
No.
Yeah, I literally cried. I cried so much. I was like, oh my God, this girl, she was amazing at what she did. She was beautiful. The way she
was a great person too.
Yeah, she was a great person. It just gets me emotional because I'm like, I can't imagine someone like that who wasn't into anything bad and didn't even have a bad heart to be taken like that out of nowhere. And that's why I feel, I don't know the family, but I feel for them. I understand why they've been in a space where for years it had never has been easy for them. Right. And so yeah, so like I literally fell in love. Like I remember just as a kid, I would
You
always.
probably watched that movie a million times.
Oh, I did because I just so
Your dad's like,
admired.
why did I put her on to this
I-
damn movie?
No, he did. He definitely felt like that because
Like-
he didn't. He was. I remember I begged him. I was like, Dad, please buy me a hat like Selena did. Like Selena always would wear like these not base. She would wear baseball caps, but she would always wear like these different types of hats and stuff. And I begged my dad, like, can you buy me a hat like that? Can you make sure you get me a shirt like that? Can you make sure you get me a shirt that has like her face on it? You know, like I honestly became obsessed with her to the point I started to wanting to learn more about music. And I started wanting to learn more about dancing. And then what I would do as a kid, after I watched that movie, I started to like watch her music videos. I started to watch her interviews. Then I also started doing the same with Jennifer Lopez because she was she played Selena.
Right.
And then I did the same thing with Beyonce and Shakira and like all these other artists. So literally I would be at home sitting and just mimicking everything that they would do, from the way they sang, from the way they dance. And I guess that's pretty much how I found out that I could sing, you know? So
that's dope. That's dope.
Started training.
Yeah,
The voice.
yeah,
That's
in a
hard.
sense.
Mimicking is how everyone basically learns how to do music,
Yeah.
singing, rapping, all forms
Especially
of
at that
music,
age too, our brain are kind of like, it's like a sponge. You grab
Right.
everything, you know?
I think what's dope is when we get older and we start realizing those things that we were paying attention to when we were young, but didn't know, like, those are those things that would kind of, like, you know what I'm saying, like, propel us
Yeah.
forward.
Right.
Like, I remember being in front of the TV all day, every day, watching nothing but Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, and Cartoon
Exactly.
Network,
Yep.
not thinking I'm learning the format to how to create content as I get older. You know what I'm
That's deep.
saying?
That's deep.
Exactly.
No,
So, like,
that
you
is
feel me?
a good point.
Right.
So just the same way, like with you, like I love hearing these types of stories. It's just like, yo, like you start hearing the roots of why you see this.
Why you love what you
You know
love.
what I
Yeah,
mean?
no,
Like that's
a
just
fact.
fire to me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I fell in love with all these women, especially Selena. So it was, thank you to my father. I tell him all the time, like, especially when I do shows and stuff, I mention that sometimes because like being a parent, I would be like, oh wow, like I kind of propelled her to, to find her purpose in a sense.
That's hard.
So
So did you move around a lot? Because you said they met in Boston, and then you also lived in Florida. But is that
Yeah.
the only two places?
yeah, so like I said, I was born in Boston, but when I was 5, I actually moved to Lawrence. So I also have like family on my mom's side. I lived in Lawrence for a year, and then I moved to Florida. When I first moved to Florida, I lived in Orlando for a year. Then I moved down to Cape Coral, which is close to Fort Myers. Yeah, and I lived there for about close to 7 to 8 years.
Oh, wow.
Um,
So I'm the same way. Like I was born up here, then I moved down south to Virginia for
Oh,
for a
wow.
long time too. Like, and then I moved to different cities, and
Exactly.
so when you move
That's
a
what I
lot,
did.
you learn to like be a people person, but and adapt quicker than other
To in
people.
a certain
you
environment.
Know what I mean? Yeah,
Mhm.
because the moving around. But that's dope. That's dope.
Exactly, yeah. That's why I really didn't mind it as a kid, but at the same time I did hate it because I felt like I don't really know what it means to have childhood friends. You know,
I
don't-
always say the same thing. Like, you don't have those, people who stayed in Boston their whole life. They're like, oh, I went to elementary with him, man.
Yeah.
I went to middle school with this person. It's like,
Yeah.
whoa, like, you still
I
know
don't
who you
know.
went to middle school. Like, people meet up with their elementary school friends and their middle school friends and go out for drinks
Exactly.
now. Like, it's
I just
crazy.
did it last weekend. Man.
Wow, that's
Shout out my
crazy.
man Jet, man. My man
That's
Jet.
crazy. So,
He's our new trademark lawyer.
yo, no, that's fire.
yeah, exactly.
But nah, I wanted to ask. I ain't even gonna hold you because, obviously, we're kind of getting to who you are and things like that. But like, I think your personality and your character is kind of like what shines out of everything that's happening right now. Even as you kind of tell your story, because even when me and Chaka met you, it was via the testing lab.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah, I remember.
for us, we're we were talking about this a little off cam, but like we on some hip hop shit over here. You know what I'm
Nah, I
saying?
know,
Like
yeah.
we heavy, obviously, but like obvity hip hop and
Reggae
just,
too.
hold reggae,
on.
obviously. You know what I'm
Hold
saying?
up.
Respectfully, just urban. You know
No,
what
this
I'm
is the
saying?
biggest.
Yeah,
It's one of the
it's
biggest reggae dance hall heads in the world right here. People don't know that he may run the hip hop coach out here, but you catch him on a Friday, Saturday night. The man
That's
is
all he's
a whole
listening
different
to?
person. Like,
Oh,
stupid.
you and my dad would get along then.
That's my dog.
Yeah,
nah.
yeah, yeah.
Tell your pops go fuck with me at Mojitos, man. Shout out Mojitos,
Yeah, nah,
man.
facts.
You know what I mean? Dogs. But nah, So
Yeah,
the question was, you know what I mean? Your persistency, boom. You know, I think that is you know, the just kind of like the golden egg of, you know, anybody that's gonna, you know, eventually learn about who Yelena is. You know, like whatever Yelena might have, you know, the engine comes from, you know, that persistency. You know what I'm saying? Because when me and Chaka met you, same way. You know, us being, you know, doing what we do, it was like, damn, like, you know, we rock with you and your energy and fucking with what we
Thank
do.
you.
But like, you know, as a platform, we want to speak on, you know, things that, you know, we genuinely know about. You know, like we don't want to, you know, give misinformation to anybody. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So, you know, we spoke about how, you know, like let's have the story build. You know, like we just met. You know, like let's see where the story builds. Boston Music Award comes around. You are going ham for letting niggas know to hit that voting button. Like that's a fact. If there's anybody that I know that was nominated and was telling people to like, yo, you need to vote, it was you. Like that's a fact. And, you know, to then go on to win the award, boom, story solidified.
Yeah.
And I love that because now it's just like, yo, like we really watched A through Z, you know? So, and I think that's what's dope about your story, for real. And I guess my question at this point is, are you naturally persistent, or do you feel like there was a moment that kind of like stuck out to you so crazy that you're like, nah, like I gotta press the button about my shit?
So it's funny that you said that because I got this from someone that I met when I was in LA recently. I met this guy who actually he works a lot with Berkeley here in Boston.
Okay.
And he has a lot of ties with different, like, you know, artists and stuff like that. And he has his own like community school back home for students who are into music, and he's helped a lot of those students actually get into Berkeley full ride. And he actually said to me, like, you know, I like the fact that you're persistent. And when he said that to me, I was like, you know, like hearing what, you know, what you said, I'm like, is that, in my mind, I was like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? And even though the way he was saying it was good, like how you just said it now, but I guess in the past, like from my own experiences, I guess some people made it seem like it was a bad thing, that I always I never gave up on what I wanted, you know?
You're just a good person, my nigga. You overthinking it, my nigga. You're a good person. That's
No.
I
No,
go through the
thank
same
you.
shit. Niggas go through the same shit. Is the reason why I was saying it too.
Yeah, like even in my last relationship, like I actually was in a relationship last year. I broke up with the person.
Get him out of here.
And no, it's okay.
Yeah, definitely get him out. It's okay. Just the way she said it's okay. Like she said, no, you're right.
Said definitely get him
You
out
know,
of here.
yeah, like
Stupid, bro.
You guys.
I'm sorry.
No,
bro.
no, it's
We're
fine.
so sorry. We're so
No,
sorry.
it's okay. Karma's a thing. But anyways, so anyways, so they like kind of said to me like, oh, you know, you can't always be as persistent with certain things. Like you just have to like take, you know, let things take its course. But obviously, like with music per se, I think that's what made me like. Just one day I woke up and I was like, Yelena, like we can't just sit here and just think that things are gonna fall in our lap. And even besides music, like certain things that I wanted to get done, I would just be like, nah, like I no matter if someone sees it as a negative way or if they don't, I don't care. Like I'm gonna go after what I want. And I think that's just what happened one day before the Boston Music Awards. Like I remember just one night I was kind of like feeling down, and I was kind of thinking of all the things that, you know, I felt like I still needed to accomplish that I haven't accomplished, and then asking myself, okay, how are we going to get those things done? And at the same time too, in the relationship I was in, it wasn't really healthy, so that also added to a lot of like doubts that I was having too. And it's just like I said, one day something clicked, and then, you know, I just kind of told myself, like whenever I was reaching out to people, I'm like, I literally would be talking, I talk to myself a lot, so I literally be like, Yelena, stop overthinking. Yelena, you just message the person. If they don't respond, it is
it's
okay.
No. The worst thing someone could tell you is no. Like,
Yeah.
especially when you're like, I feel like as artists, not enough artists are persistent. Like they take a no like it's ending their whole life. Like not like a no is okay. Like because just how Noble just touched on it, your story came full circle. Like anyone who's successful heard a million no's before they got that yes.
That's true.
So it's like all you need is that one yes. Like today, like Def Jam, Interscope, anyone could call you, and that anyone who told you no before that is gonna change they're gonna look at that, know that they told you, and be like, damn,
Yeah.
I missed the opportunity.
That's
You
true.
know, so I think you need to stay persistent. Don't let anyone,
No, thank
you know,
you.
tell you like
So
being like that is wrong. You know.
No,
I
thank
guess like
you.
for the question, it sounds like you've always been persistent, and then that moment in time made you aware of your persistence.
Yeah, it made me be more confident in it. I think
That's
that's what
fire.
it is.
That's
Because I just, like I said, with the doubts and other things like outside that was happening at the time, like it kind of made me like question, like, oh, like, am I gonna be perceived a certain way? Are people gonna look at me like as crazy, or am I doing too much? But then the reality is like when it comes to this business, you really have to be persistent, especially when you don't really have a team backing you. I don't have a manager, you know, I don't have someone to kind of help me do kind of some of the groundwork. So it's like I'm constantly always being the one to stay on top of things. I'm constantly always being the one to advocate for myself, you know? And I think that's kind of what got to that point of being like, nah, like we have to reach out to people and we need to stop overthinking and stop questioning if we're going to be perceived a certain way because of other experiences that made us feel like, oh, what we're doing is bad.
No, I agree.
You know?
I mean, me and Noble refer to our dreams as like as that's being your baby, and it's like, you know, like I'm a parent, so I could tell you like when it's your child, like no one can tell you like what's right or wrong. Like you have to own those like the decisions you make. So like I think going forward, like you just need to like double down on those, like forget the doubt and just double down on it. Cause look where you're at now. Like from when we saw you at the testing lab to winning the Boston Music Awards, like that is like a crazy, like that happened in a few months.
I know.
Like, you know what I mean? Like literally, like
Yeah.
like a lot of people feel like to win a Boston Music Award would take them
I ain't
a
gonna hold
decade.
you. So even when we started the museum, like I used to be those people talking about what's good with the Boston Music Awards. They not tapping into nothing. And this was even before they even had a category for me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just kind of like just being one of those people. So when I see artists kind of, you know, expressing themselves that way, like I get it, I understand. No funny shit. But to see people now, as you know, we're 9 years in, seeing, you know, you kind of just hitting that pavement, you know, meeting who you need to meet, you know what I'm saying, taking care of that groundwork, to see it done in a year, 2 years now, to me, it's fire. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, thank
But
you.
at the same time, people don't realize how much progress they're enjoying. You know what I'm saying? They don't realize how much progress is actually being had right now. And that's the only thing that I personally have a problem with. But that's why, another reason why I love stories like yourself, because it's literally an example of them posts, you know what I'm saying, I was putting up, and watching other people, you know, just, you know, trying to speak for themselves years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing people, you know what I mean, like able to be in the same rooms as the people that are really, you know, making those decisions, or might have the ear to be able to talk to the people making those decisions.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? It's just things are so much more tight knit, and it honestly annoys me that people underestimate that. You know what I'm saying? Or underrate that. You know?
Yeah.
So, damn, I'm sorry. That was my little monologue
No,
for
that's
the
okay.
interview.
I got one. So, all right, being a Latin artist in Massachusetts, how do you maneuver like the shows and getting booked? Because I mean, the majority shows are probably either pop shows or hip hop shows. You know what I mean? So, being a Latin artist, where do you find the spaces where you fit, or are you just kicking down the doors?
Fire
that
question,
you know
bro.
what I mean? Like without like we said, you're being persistent. Like, no, you need to have me on the show. I don't care if no one in the audience understands it. They're gonna know that I can sing.
No, it's because
you know what I mean?
It's
No,
not
that's
like
true.
you're.
That's true.
Because damn, like, you know, and part of my ignorance, but it's not like you're creating Bad Bunny type music, like, you know what I'm saying?
No,
like,
and I get it. It's okay.
You're really like, you know, it gives me
It's the
somewhat
soul.
traditional and
Yeah,
soul
soul, yeah.
vibes, like for real, when I
Thank
listen
you.
to your music, you know what I mean? And I think that's what's dope, and, you know, just it's heavy Latin. Like, I fuck with that, you know what I'm saying?
Thank
So,
you.
Yeah, how are you
how do you
maneuvering the
find
shows
it? How
and
do you
kicking
find
down
it?
the doors?
I
Like,
mean, honestly, so when I started doing music, so I honestly had no clue about like, oh, like I never like how to explain this? I didn't really think to myself like about having to be picky for shows. Any show that I heard where they are looking for artists, I'll be like, I need to be on that. I need to find a way. Or people would contact me, you know? So I think now where I'm at, obviously I've learned that I need to be picky because yes, there were times where I did perform for a show and I probably was like maybe the only singer, or I was the only person who had a different vibe compared to everyone else, which is okay.
Yeah.
But that also, in a sense, with now where I'm at and how I'm building my career, now if I look back then, I would have told myself, no, we need to be picky, or we shouldn't have done that show because it didn't make sense, because we were, performing to an
Being
audience.
more intentional, like with which shows you're
Exactly.
picking, which is growth, which is a huge, like,
Exactly.
as a new artist, you can't really be like choosy. You can't,
No,
like,
you
you know
can't.
what I mean?
When you first start out, I
Right.
think you really need to humble yourself,
Right.
because there's no reason for you to be like, I'm not gonna do that show. I'm gonna do that one. No, I'm not. No, you need to humble yourself, honey. You have to, because at the end of the day, like when you're first starting out, I think if you humble yourself and you're not as picky, you start to learn, like, okay, what kind of shows would be best for me. Also, you start to know too, like, it gets to a point where you know that you need to start being paid for shows. Obviously, for me, there's certain shows where I'm at too. This year I told myself, any show that I do, I want to get paid because I deserve it. I know my worth. But at the same time, I'm very flexible, and I understand how there are people who are working to, if they're just new to certain things, like, I'll help you out. I don't mind supporting you. I don't mind not,
That's dope.
That's
dope.
not
See,
getting money out of it. As
it's
much
building a culture, because
exactly, and
just
building
how
a network.
A promoter, a DJ may be at the ground level also, and like eventually they want to pay you too. Like,
Exactly.
like,
and someday too, this is how I think about it. With where I want to grow in my career, someday I would love to come back to Boston when I'm at the top of the industry, the game, and be able to give back to some of those people that always had me perform at their show or always gave me support in any sort of way, because at the end of the day, it's all
That's
about
dope.
it's all about it's all about giving back.
Yeah,
you
for
know
real.
even like people always mention all the time, like, oh, all these Massachusetts artists never come back. Well, one, some of them don't come back because they never felt supported. Two, at the end of the day, when you get to that type of lifestyle, things always change, but at the end of the day too, it also depends on the person. And I know for me, however, whatever may happen, when that time comes, I definitely would like to come back, give back anyway, because when the biggest thing being at top of the game in the industry, it's all about giving back. And that's what people don't realize. It's not about, yes, the fame comes, the money comes, but you always got to think about, it's all about giving back, what you can teach to people, how you can help people. Because I would love years later to be able to help another Yelena, or a person that, is wanting to become a big artist someday,
Yeah.
especially someone who doesn't have anyone backing them up. I would love to do that years later.
And that's what the game. You're giving game right now.
She's talking
You're
her shit
giving
right
game
now.
right
She's talking
now.
her shit right now.
Because the
Yelena
support,
for presidente.
the support thing is
That's too
definitely
stressful,
huge. It's definitely huge out here. A lack of support, and like a lot of times that like makes people bitter to where they come from. They feel like, oh well, I didn't get any recognition till I went to this place, till I left here, and I feel like that's changing now. And just how, as you're speaking right now, I feel like it's already changed in your mind. Like you feel like you've gotten enough support to feel like, okay, when I get back, I know who to support.
There's
you know what I mean?
way more artists now that are speaking to that. You know what I'm saying? We, obviously got Yelena, we got the Keys. You know what I'm saying? We got all these like young fire
Van Buren's doing it.
You know what I'm saying? Coming back. You know what I mean? Like you said, bro. I genuinely feel like, and again, when I started my platform,
nobody.
Nobody
wanted to interview Massachusetts artists before.
Like nobody was
before the
caring
museum
like that,
TV.
Like that. Like I mean, like
you had your Funky Fresh. You had
It was just too much politics around people wanting to support people around.
Oh yeah,
you know
and
what
there
I'm
still
saying?
is.
And there for sure still is.
Yep.
Unfortunately, but like, I guess for me it's just like I don't want there to the progress to really just kind of be swept under the rug, because in all honesty, like, we are definitely at like a greater point. So I love hearing yourself saying this, like this is like fire to me, because it's just like, yo, none of what we was really doing was in vain. Like,
No, it wasn't.
for me, like, my biggest thing was, we come into doing what we're doing, and we're changing hearts. It's not even just, us doing interviews. It's about changing hearts. And I think that's what you do through your music, and just how you're speaking too. Like, is dope. And it's also more dope when you see somebody like yourself, get the chance to be at the Grammys, you know what I'm saying, and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? You like how I transition that, right? You feel me?
Good job.
I appreciate, 9 years. But it's just like one of those things where it's like, again, how we met to seeing that, like, again, there was no reason why you didn't come up here,
Yeah.
So speak on the Grammys. Like, what was it like? You know what I'm saying? How'd you get there? You know what I'm saying? What was like a favorite moment? What was a moment you felt like, damn, like I didn't expect that to happen? Like, what's up?
Yeah, so honestly, let me bring it back to last year. So around October, November. So I had a close friend of mine, like she's like a mentor to me, my financial advisor. She one day said to me, Yelena, you really need to utilize LinkedIn. And I was like, why do you say that? She was like, because rather than you going on Instagram trying to contact platforms that you can connect with, platforms that, people that, you can be on their shows and stuff, why don't you utilize LinkedIn? Because it's more professional. So I was like, okay. She was like, honestly, on LinkedIn, you could look up like Grammy voting members, or you can look up like a producer or whatever. So I was like, okay, fine. So one day I was on LinkedIn and I started looking up like Grammy award winning, and it came out this long list of people who are Grammy award winning, from like depending whatever genre they're in. Mm-hmm. So this one guy comes up and his name is Brent Fisher. He is a composer and producer. He is someone who used to work a lot with Michael Jackson, used to work a lot with Prince, also worked with Tony Braxton.
What? All three names is like, what?
You ain't gotta say no more.
Right, you ain't gotta drop no more names. Like, that's real.
Yeah, he, what's it called? Yeah, he worked on like Michael Jackson's This Is It, that was like his very last, before
That's crazy.
Before he died, unfortunately. But yeah, so something told me like, oh, message him. So I did, and I was like, oh, I like your work, I like what you do, I like all the stuff that you've done with all these other artists in the past. And he answered. And so we scheduled the day to like pretty much chat, about like, the music industry, and also to talk about like what my goals are when it comes to my music career. And then the first time that we talked, he was like, you know what? Why don't you come to LA next year in February for the Grammys? And I was
That's crazy. Yeah. That is crazy. I know your financial
Yeah.
advisor, like, she got upgraded. Like, like what? She became one of your lifelong friends in that moment. Like, dang, bro, what are the chances? Like, that's God for real.
Yeah.
Like,
That's definitely
Yeah, no, I still have to talk to her about that. I didn't think anything of it. I was like, go to Grammys? What? Like, how am I even supposed to even go? And he was like, well, I can't really, invite you to the event, but I can invite you to other Grammy events where there will be Grammy voting members and stuff like that. And you can accompany me and, and we'll go from there. And I was like, okay. So then I remember that day I bought my ticket to LA. And I went, and I went from like, what was it, February 2nd to the 6th, and the Grammys was on the 5th of this month. And yeah, I was like with him the whole entire weekend, going to different events. I got to meet with, a lot of people who are Grammy voting members, who won Grammys, depending whatever genre they are. And a lot of these people are not like huge artists, but at the end of the day, like they've done what they did, which is amazing. Facts. And then to be able to accompany this man who would have thought, like,
sometimes knowing the people behind the scenes is a million times better than knowing the person in front of the camera.
Exactly. Right. And this is someone who's been in the industry for years, who's seen like how the industry was back in, the 80s, 90s, like, and up and until now, like, so it's really great to have to be connected to someone like that, and to also like going to LA, it made me realize too, like, at the end of the day, like, there are people out there who want to support you. You know, sometimes it sucks when you can't find that where you're from, but there's people outside of where you're from who I promise you are going to want to support you, who are going to look at you, listen to your music for maybe 10 minutes, for 5 minutes, and be like, you're talented, I want to help you. You know, compared to always
talking shit I'm captivated.
Like, that's literally what like, I'm telling you, when I went to LA, despite me being at the Grammy red carpet, like, which I'm very grateful for, I don't think it still hasn't hit me, so that's why I'm talking the way I'm talking. But it's just, that's really what made me realize, like, when I was going to these events with this man, he'd be like, this is Yelena Rodriguez, she's a talented artist, she won Latin Artist of the Year, and I'd be like, oh, you didn't have to say all of that. You know, but it's like, that's like, there's people.
And he felt like that's the bare minimum. He's like, what? Why wouldn't I say that? Like, I'm introducing you. Like, that's who you are. Like, you know, like, for real. Like,
exactly. And I'm like, and it, again, like, it just made me realize, like, there's people out there outside of your comfort zone who want to help you. This guy, he literally, like, he hasn't asked much from me. All he's done is introduce me to certain people. We've had conversations about the music industry. We've had conversations about how the Grammys work, you know, that a lot of artists don't even know, which opened my mind. And it just being there just made me realize, at the end of the day, like, this is for me. And this can be for other people. But being there on the red carpet, to be honest, I low-key felt like at home. Like, I just felt like this is where I belong. So that's why
talk this shit.
We on MASSTIME.
We definitely
Mass artists. I'm telling you, we gonna run the game. I'm telling y'all, like,
go ahead. You know, ain't nobody mad at it.
Like, you know, I really felt like at home, and like, that moment and everything, I was like, yeah, this is literally where we belong.
This was meant for me to be here. No, that's so dope.
And so like, that being said, like, for any artist, depending what your vision is, what your dreams are, I just feel like at the end of the day, like, I'm telling you, like, there's support out there. There's support outside of your comfort zone, out of your home, where if you're not receiving it, like, there's support out there, and there's people outside who would love to help you. And that's the biggest thing I realized being in LA, going to the Grammys. Like, there's people out there who legit want to support you and want to help someone like myself, or someone like you, or whatever may be, in whatever genre you're in, whatever you're talented in. And like, that's something that I feel like it still hasn't hit me, everything I've experienced, but I'm very grateful for it. It was very eye-opening, and it just also made me realize too that with what I want to do in life and the artist I want to become, there's going to be a point right now where, or a time I would say, where I'm going to have to eventually expand. You know, I love Massachusetts, but
here we go.
Time is ticking.
Nah, she's right. There's nothing wrong with expanding. She already said she's gonna come back, so that's already cemented. And like Jeff two times says, like Jeff two times, he has a famous line at the testing lab where he says, "Find your community." So when you're what you're saying is right on point. Sometimes at home is not for everybody to stay home forever. You know what I mean? It's to go out and find that little pocket of people in every state, in every city around the world.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? And find your core fan base. And that doesn't mean when you find your core, you don't come back home. You know what I mean? That means even more now you need to come back home and show people, like, hey, like you said, when you find that younger version of you and they looking up like, oh, snap, I never thought I would bump into you walking, you know what I'm saying, leaving Brockton or leaving Boston, you know what I mean? And that's going to be, you're going to affect so many more people that way. You know what I mean?
And that's what I mean. And that's the type of mindset that people need to have. Like, you need to like, depending what you want to do, everyone has a purpose, right? There are people that still are trying to figure out their purpose, and that's okay. But for those who know what your purpose is, like me, I know my purpose in this world was to do music, was to be a singer. But it was also to do music as a way to heal others in any way that I can, right? Because me, I'm a very spiritual person. You know, I believe in God. For those who don't, you know, it's okay. But I'm a very spiritual person. I recognize me. I'm an empath. So let's say right now, if you were crying, I would be crying.
Yeah.
If you're mad right now,
I feel you.
I would feel your anger, and I'll probably
Right.
not want to be near you.
Right.
But if you're feeling happy, I would feel that times 10. So that being said, like, when it comes to what you want to do, and like for my purpose, I know that I came into this world to help others using the gifts that God gave me. And that's why, like, my being in LA, it just made me realize more and more, like, there's no matter where you come from, if you feel like at home you don't have that much support, or like what you asked me earlier about, oh, as a Latin artist, what kind of events do you go to? Or like me, I struggle trying to figure out what platforms I can try to be interviewed on, and there's certain platforms that kind of tell me like, oh, we'll get back to you, because they're trying to figure out how they can fit me in their platform. And that's okay, but like, I just know at the end of the day, like, outside of Massachusetts, there's people out there that are going to want me to be on their platforms because it makes sense. There are going to be people out there that are going to want to help me because it just makes sense.
Right on
and
the
like
head.
at the end of the day,
That's the reason why she got that BMA, y'all. Stop fucking playing.
Right, for real.
like
So-
everything just happens for a reason.
So, what are 3 of your songs that you'll tell people out there to listen to?
So my number one song is Pajarocito Mío. Me personally, that's one of my favorites, and I know a few people that actually really like that song. That's a Spanish-English song. That song is a song that pretty much talks about who I am as a person, especially my ideas when it comes to love and my fears when it comes to it. And then my other song I would say would be Diabla. That's a song that I released back in December last year.
Getting big numbers every day up on YouTube, doing numbers after numbers
Thank
after
you.
numbers.
Thank you. Yeah, no, Diabla is Diabla. It's a very, very great song.
Right.
And then song after is On My Own, which that was my first song I released back in 2020 when I first started my music career.
No, that's dope.
Yeah.
Okay. So y'all better definitely tap in.
Yes.
I think you're killing the game right now. Like,
Thank you.
like I said, there's not a lot of Latin spaces out here, but for you, you're definitely. I've seen your name everywhere. I've seen you probably do every venue. I've seen you work hard, like, and,
thank
you know,
you.
and like we said, being persistent is like when you're making art. It's like only you can go as hard as for your
100%.
art, like, and there's
Yeah.
so many artists who they'll go to the studio every week.
There's nowhere around it.
and they won't even promote their music. You know what I
Talking
mean?
shit.
So you're doing it the right way. So I just want to
thank
commend you to
Oh,
keep
thank
on
you.
going, keep making more music. We definitely want an English speaking album because you
Look.
can just sing.
of course.
You
A
could
brother
just
like
sing.
me,
Of course.
I at least need English subtitles. You know what I'm
I
saying?
always say that about Bad Bunny's music. I'm the biggest every time.
Bad Bunny won't even speak English
I
in
know,
interviews.
I know, but I always say like,
Benito,
dang, I just
yo
wish.
entiendo. I mean,
I just
get
wish
it.
a Bad Bunny song would come on and all the lyrics was there, so I could just be like, I'm already vibing. The vibes
Yeah.
there. It's just like with your music, the vibes already there.
No,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like,
no,
'cause
of
my
course,
whole
of
thing
course,
is-
of course.
I want to hear the translation. Be like, I bet. You walk up to shorty, you know what I'm saying? Speaking the Spanish part, like,
you know what you're saying, like, yeah.
But nah,
No, of course.
damn, man, nah, it's definitely like I said it plenty of times during the interview. Definitely dope. I mean, we've had a great time speaking to a point. I mean,
me
we're,
too.
you know what I mean? Like, this is honestly one of our longer
Yes,
interviews.
yeah,
Just our
yeah.
strength
Oh,
of just,
wow.
just the vibe is being dope. I ain't even gonna hold you. But please, like, what does 2023 look like? Like, bring us up to speed. Like,
Yeah. 2023, let's see. Well, this year I'm going to work on my first EP or album, however you want to call it. I didn't want to say this, but I guess I'm going to say it. I am thinking of trying to find ways to be a part of the Grammy. So with the guy Brent, he wants to help me become a Grammy voting member by next year. So be a part of the Recording Academy. So we'll see. I didn't want to say it because I don't, but
would be fire.
I'm going to speak into the universe. It will happen. I'll be
Yeah.
part of the Recording Academy. Vamos echar pa'lante, as my people say. But and then just continue to connect with people. I definitely want to travel more this year. I'm honestly thinking about relocating come next year. So, we'll just everything will be good. Everything will be great. But those are my goals for this year.
Nah, that's dope.
That's so Boston. I want everybody.
Yo,
to
you're
stay
gonna
here.
win. You're gonna
That's
win.
cool.
Like
No,
just
thank
your
you.
attitude says it all. Like you know what I mean. The conversation we had today says it all. You're gonna win.
Nah,
Thank
no
you.
funny
Yeah.
shit. Your character is fire, Yelena, and I think that's
thank
probably
you.
my biggest fan of like what you got going on, and the music is just cherry on top.
Oh, thank
you know what I
you.
mean? So definitely keep doing your thing. Yo.
Yeah.
I really don't got nothing
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
else to really
I
say. Yo. No
I mean,
funny shit.
I appreciate it though, because I just want to say, like, I'm like I mentioned earlier, I'm a person that overthinks a lot. I'm someone that really beats myself down a lot and always questions like if I'm good enough. So being on here, I really appreciate it. Honestly.
Respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what the Museum TV is all about. It's interviews
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this. It's
Yeah,
like,
man, like,
you
this
know,
is
when
for
artists from our state are winning, they have to come on our couch. Like that's
For sure.
what it is about. Like
Yeah,
you
I
know what I mean. You're
appreciate it.
winning. You've put in the work. You've been putting in the work. It's just
Thank you.
to keep going. Like
I
that's
feel
all.
like sometimes it's not good enough, but that's just me.
Yeah, no,
So
you
thank
know,
you.
everyone's their
Biggest
own
critic,
hardest
yeah.
critic. You know
Yeah.
what I
For
mean?
sure.
So
Working on that this year. But
know.
no, thank you. I'm
Good.
grateful for the both of you.
Nah, yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yo, Noble, man. Yo, man.
I mean, we bringing this for a landing.
Yeah, man. We're bringing this in for a landing, yo. Yo, it was a great interview.
For sure.
You know, we got
Great.
the testing lab coming up. This
Testing lab. We got my man. I mean, by the time this comes out.
yeah. But I mean, we're going to Atlanta. We got some
We're going to
interviews in
Atlanta, yeah, my man
Atlanta.
Jimmy,
We're
you
going
know what I mean?
LA's on
You
the
know,
agenda
and
board.
LA's on the agenda. I'm gonna be shout out with my John G beats. You know what I'm saying? You know this Jacqueline, bro. We here. But nah. I mean, in terms of what's coming very soon for the Museum TV, we're moving into a new spot. It's gonna be a whole new set.
It's getting crazy. It's getting crazy.
We
yo.
working. We got enough.
Yeah,
content
9.
to
We
give
almost
us
to
shit,
10, y'all. We almost to 10, y'all. It's getting crazy out here.
Yeah, 10. I mean, at this point, it's less than less than
Yes.
365 of them things, man.
Yeah.
So I'm doing the stanky leg to the finish line,
Yo,
nigga.
yo,
You
it's
know
getting
what I'm
crazy.
saying? Like, for real.
It's getting crazy, yo. Big things coming this year, so we ain't even gonna rush this year
Nah,
9.
we're literally gonna enjoy every moment. We're enjoying this moment right now, Yelena. You know.
Yes.
I mean, other than that, I mean, shit. Hit
Yeah.
that subscribe button,
button.
bro. Why the fuck
Right,
not?
right,
Why
right.
we
Come
here?
on, right.
Hit that subscribe
Like,
button.
share.
Like, share.
Come
please,
on, man.
You know, like,
I know this gonna be a big interview. I know it is.
Nah, that's
I know
a fact.
it's just gonna be
BMA,
it's a
Latin
great
Artist of the Year.
conversation.
Thank you. No, thank
on,
you.
man.
yo, bro, nah, this is honestly one of my favorite, like,
Yeah, nah, this
conversations of the
one
year,
was
no,
man.
thank
nice.
you.
The conversation was great. Not
convo,
not
great
every
convo.
artist can has great conversation. That's like you
Nah,
rarely
nah,
find
nah,
that.
nah,
No,
no
all
funny
jokes
shit,
aside,
no
you
funny
rarely
shit.
find that. No shade
I
on
mean,
anyone we've
nah,
already
no
interviewed,
dogs, no
guys.
dogs.
Don't. I'm saying don't come with the smoke, like. But we out of here. It's the Museum TV. Year 9. Yo, we out.
We out, bro. Later.
Gang, I'd like to thank y'all for pulling up once again with the Museum TV. And you need to like, share, and comment, because we're going to keep exhibiting these stories, and you can find more right here.